Understand why you are addicted to him. The love addiction and its deep roots. Have you ever caught yourself thinking about him every minute, every second of your day? Have you felt your heart race just by thinking about that person, even when the relationship is over? You try to move on, but it feels impossible to shake off that overwhelming sensation. It's as if he's constantly on your mind, like a shadow that never disappears, no matter how hard you try to distract yourself. Even though you know the relationship ended, the feeling persists, and you can't understand why this happens. You are, unknowingly, living what experts call love addiction, and this obsession may have much deeper roots than you imagine. Love addiction. How it works. When we fall in love, our brain releases a wave of chemicals that make us feel euphoric, happy, and even a bit out of control. Dopamine, known as the reward hormone, is one of the main contributors to this sensation. It makes us feel pleasure and satisfaction, like we're on an emotional roller coaster. But what happens when the person who triggers this chemical flow pulls away? Our brain reacts in the same way it would to a drug, the craving for more. This emotional high turns into an addiction, and the desire to be with the person again becomes an obsession. Now imagine that, even though you know the relationship is over, you continue to be consumed by these feelings. The longing, the desire, the expectation that things might change, all of this mixes with the fear of losing the person for good. This isn't just something temporary, but a deep emotional cycle that repeats itself because the brain is constantly seeking doses of what makes us feel good. And here lies the big problem. This feeling of pleasure mixes with emotional dependence and the desperate search for the other person's approval. The obsession with the other, an endless pursuit. Why do some people become completely obsessed with someone, thinking about the person every second, even when they know it's unhealthy? The answer often lies directly in the attachment patterns we carry from childhood. If you grew up in an environment where love was inconsistent, unpredictable, or even absent, you may have developed unconscious emotional dependence. This happens when, as a child, you learn to seek attention from others to fill an emotional void, something that transforms into a behavioral pattern in adulthood. Psychologist John Bowlby, one of the leading scholars of attachment theory, explains that when a child experiences neglect or rejection, they may develop anxious attachment, which later, in adulthood, manifests as an excessive need for approval and validation from their partner. This behavior creates a dysfunctional dynamic where, instead of feeling secure and loved by yourself, you begin to depend on the other person to feel that you deserve love. Why we can't stop loving. Understanding the emotional addiction. Imagine a child who, throughout their childhood, had to constantly do something extra to receive affection. Maybe they had to work harder to grab their parents' attention, or perhaps the parents were loving, but their reactions were unpredictable. This creates a sense of emotional insecurity. In adulthood, this child may find themselves seeking the exact same behavior in relationships, feeling the need to do more, to be more, in order to feel loved and validated. The problem is, in this cycle, they never feel good enough. When love addiction ruins your life, this type of emotional dependency can have a devastating impact on your life. The constant need for approval from others can affect your self-esteem and leave you emotionally drained. Imagine spending months in a toxic relationship, constantly trying to please the person, never putting your own needs first. You pour all your energy into winning their love, while feeling emptier and emptier inside because, deep down, you know you're sacrificing yourself. In many cases, the emotionally dependent person becomes obsessed with the idea that if the partner leaves, everything will be lost. Life turns into a constant search for approval, for making the other person happy, without realizing that this is destroying them from the inside. The desire to have the other person, to not lose the relationship at all costs, makes them forget about themselves. Even worse, when this person breaks up with you, the emotional impact can be devastating. You feel as if your identity has been stripped away. Your life revolved around this person, and when the relationship ends, you're left lost, not knowing who you are or what you want in life. This cycle can lead to depression, anxiety, and a constant feeling of emptiness because you've relied on the other person's validation to define your own worth. How this ties to past traumas. The key to understanding this behavior lies in your past, in how you learned to deal with love, loss, and abandonment. If, in your childhood, you experienced emotional neglect or insecurity, This could have created a foundation of doubt within you. You learn to love with fear, with need, and with the constant desire to prove your worth. For example, a person who grew up in an environment where their parents' love seemed conditional, or where affection was scarce and often required extra effort, tends to seek out similar relationships in adulthood. They may find themselves in relationships where there's a constant need for attention and validation, even though the partner isn't capable of offering the full, healthy love they need. This cycle of searching and not finding is often a repetition of past dynamics, which creates a constant emotional dependency. Why can't we let go of loving someone? So, why is it that, even knowing the relationship has ended, you can't stop thinking about the person? Why, after so many attempts to move on, does the feeling still persist? This happens because when you attach yourself to someone, you create a strong emotional bond that becomes a part of your identity. Love isn't just about the other person. It's about how you connect with them on a deeper level, emotionally, physically, and mentally. When we form deep emotional bonds, our brain releases chemicals that make us feel euphoric, validated, and secure. These hormones, like dopamine and oxytocin, make us crave the emotional high we get from being close to someone. So, even after the relationship is over, these emotional connections remain and continue to pull us back into thinking about the person. This is why, even if you know a relationship is toxic or over, your heart and mind still keep revisiting it, holding on to the hope that something might change. The power of self-love and healing. Recognizing these emotional patterns is the first step toward healing. The truth is, no one can truly love another person until they first love themselves. It may sound cliché, but it's the core of breaking free from the cycle of love addiction. Self-love is not just about accepting who you are, but also setting boundaries, valuing your own emotional needs, and learning to live a fulfilled life independently of others' validation. When you learn to love yourself fully, you stop depending on external sources, like another person's approval, to feel worthy or loved. You begin to rebuild your self-esteem and create healthier, more balanced relationships. You stop chasing after affection and validation and instead attract love that's based on mutual respect and understanding. The journey of self-healing and breaking the chains of love addiction takes time, but it's possible. It starts with acknowledging that your worth is not defined by anyone else, but by the love and care you give to yourself. When you stop seeking validation from others, you start seeing yourself as deserving of respect, happiness, and healthy relationships. Final thought. If you've found yourself stuck in a cycle of emotional dependency and want to break free, remember that the most important relationship you will ever have is with yourself. By focusing on self-love, setting boundaries, and healing past wounds, you'll start to attract healthier relationships and create a life where you are no longer defined by your need for someone else's approval. You are enough, just as you are, and you deserve to feel whole and loved on your own terms. Chemical and emotional bond that is not easily broken. This bond can even be reinforced by the idea of scarcity. The more the person pulls away, the more you feel the need for them. This feeling of losing something valuable makes you cling even harder to the person, creating a vicious cycle. The path to liberation. Healing the love addiction. Now that you understand why this addiction and obsession happen, what is the path to liberation? The answer starts with self-awareness and emotional healing. The first step is recognizing that emotional dependency is not natural, but a consequence of dysfunctional attachment patterns you've learned throughout your life. Healing begins when you start seeing yourself as enough and valuable on your own, without needing external validation to feel whole. Therapy is an essential tool for anyone who wants to overcome emotional dependency. Psychotherapy, especially those focusing on attachment and self-awareness, can help identify and heal these patterns. Additionally, self-care activities such as practicing mindfulness, meditation, and setting healthy boundaries are key to learning how to love and respect yourself. Conclusion. The journey of self-love. Love addiction is not just an abstract concept, it is real, and its roots are often deeply intertwined with what we experience during our childhood and the emotional experiences we carry throughout life. This addiction isn't just about being in love with someone, but about emotional dependence on a person to feel validated and complete. What many don't realize is that, by staying in this cycle of seeking endless love and approval from others, you are ignoring something crucial: the love you need to give yourself. Here's the harsh but liberating truth. No one can love you the way you need to be loved, except for yourself. When you place someone else's love above your own self-love and well-being, you put yourself in a vulnerable position where your happiness depends entirely on external factors. This makes you hostage to another person's emotions and actions, creating an emotional dependency that, in the long run, can be destructive to you. Love addiction, fueled by insecurity, emotional neediness, and the need for validation, can be extremely dangerous. It can make you lose yourself in the constant search for someone who, often, cannot or will not give you what you need. And the worst part, when that person pulls away or does not reciprocate your feelings, you find yourself lost, directionless, not knowing who you are without the other. This is emotional dependency at its cruelest form. But the good news is that there is a way to break the cycle. And that path starts from a much deeper and more transformative place than you might think. True transformation happens when you decide that you are enough, that you deserve to be loved, not because someone else loves you, but because you love yourself. Self-love is the key to all other forms of love you seek in your life. When you start to truly love yourself, you learn to value yourself. You put your own needs, well-being, and happiness at the top of your priority list. This is not selfishness. On the contrary, it is a practice of self-compassion and respect for yourself. And it is only when you put yourself first that you are truly ready to experience healthy and balanced relationships, where love is not a game of power or dependence, but a genuine exchange between two people who respect and care for each other. How to break free from this cycle? The first thing you need to understand is that there is no magical cure. Breaking the love addiction and emotional dependency is a process that requires patience, self-awareness, and dedication. But as you take the first step, you begin to realize how much stronger, more secure, and freer you become. You start to see that you don't need anyone's approval to feel complete. On the contrary, you become your greatest source of validation. It's necessary to take a deep reflection. How have you been treating yourself? What patterns of behavior have you repeated throughout your life in search of love? How has your relationship with yourself been? The answers to these questions are crucial for your healing process. Recognizing the wounds of the past and understanding where this need for validation from others comes from is the first step to healing them. And it takes time, but it is entirely possible. As you invest in your self-love, you begin to understand that you are the only one responsible for your happiness. You don't need anyone else to be complete because you already are. This understanding starts to transform not only your relationship with others, but especially your relationship with yourself. And as you become more whole and secure, you begin to attract healthier and more balanced relationships into your life, where love is genuine and not a way to escape loneliness or neediness. The importance of putting yourself first. Believe this. When you put yourself first, you are creating a space where true love can flourish. Because, before seeking love outside, you need to learn to give love to yourself. When you prioritize yourself, you start to respect yourself, take care of yourself in ways you never have before. You begin to make decisions that favor your well-being, not someone else's. This can mean learning to set boundaries, saying no when necessary, and protecting your inner peace. But don't be fooled. This journey of self-discovery can be challenging, because it requires you to face your shadows, your fears, and often, the emotional wounds you've carried for so long. However, it is a process of rebirth. You begin to rebuild your life from a place of love and self-trust, no longer driven by fear of rejection or abandonment. Now, imagine a scenario where, instead of getting lost in a toxic relationship, you begin to rediscover yourself. Imagine that you put yourself first, devote yourself to your well-being, and start to feel stronger and more secure. Scenario: it doesn't matter if the other person is present or not. You are the source of your own happiness. And when you truly love yourself, you begin to attract people who respect and love you in the same healthy way that you love yourself. What are you waiting for to start? The journey to self-love may seem long, but it begins with one simple step: deciding that you deserve to love yourself and be happy, regardless of anything or anyone else. And this transformation isn't just about your love life. It affects every aspect of your life: your relationships, your mental health, your self-esteem, your career. When you put yourself first, everything starts to align more harmoniously. So, if you've connected with this story and feel ready to take that first step, I invite you to subscribe to our channel. Here, we'll guide you through this self-discovery process, helping you strengthen your self-esteem and cultivate the self-love that is the foundation for all other kinds of love. Let's go together on this journey of transformation. The time has come for you to become the best version of yourself and live the full and balanced life you deserve. Don't wait any longer. The love you seek outside is waiting to be found inside of you.